Hey, I recently wrote an album's worth of new material in 5 days, and I want to share with you the 5 best learnings that I took away from this time of really intensive music writing because I realized that these are in reach for anyone else also. And I just wanted to share because it was a big realization for myself also that sometimes the blocks we have in our minds about how much time we need to get stuff done aren't actually real at all, they're just up there. So, number one, the first thing, and I think this is one of the most important ones, is to block a space of time where you can really just focus on your music. My family went to Switzerland to visit family there, so I knew I was going to be here for 6 days on my own, and I realized, okay, this is the time. So I said, for 6 days, I'm not going to do anything except write music and just fully focus on the studio. And something interesting happened, and that was like, the first day I was still fighting a little bit with some devices weren't talking to each other or some signals weren't coming right where I needed them, the typical stuff. But by the second day, I started to be able to just execute on my ideas really quickly. And I already wrote a couple of pieces in the second day that I'm really, really happy with. And then on the third day, I did like an 11-hour session. The studio was on like most of the day. And I just had breaks for like lunch and dinner. And yeah, it was just this flow, and some of the best songs that I wrote, actually the one that's in the background here now also came on that day, and just things started to go. And by the fourth and fifth day, I started to get a bit tired, and it was a bit of a battle, but still very, very valuable. So figure out a way with your significant other, with your other responsibilities, to get at least a block, I would suggest, of 3 days, like a long weekend that's hopefully manageable for anyone, where you can just be in the studio and just focus, so that you don't have to deal anymore with anything external, but just be in your creative vision. I think you'll be able to get way more done in these 3 days than doing maybe half a day here, half a day there, and in the end, always feeling interrupted in what it is you're trying to do. The second thing that I did, which was had a huge impact also, was reducing all external distractions. So, I went to India many, many years ago, and there's something called Vipassana, which is like a silent meditation where you're in silence, you don't speak to anyone, obviously you don't use any technology. And I said to myself, why don't I do something similar? So for these days, I didn't, of course, use any social media, no YouTube videos, no music other than music that I was making in the studio, and no books or anything like that. And what I realized, what this did after I kind of, detoxed from all the social stuff, is that I had so much more space in my mind to just hold ideas, and actually just also space to channel music and to bring music into my studio. And the whole process of writing became much more something that was coming from deep, deep inside me, and not something that felt like I had been impacted by whatever stuff was going on, because I also underestimated how heavily all this social media and external input stuff influences us to feel a certain uneasiness all the time. And actually being in silence, not speaking to anyone, was amazing. And it opened up a huge space where the music that wanted to come through me could come through me. So yeah, I can highly, highly recommend that if you're going to do these 3 days, to just detox from anything digital, no email, nothing, even books and music. In my case, I said, I'm just going to see what happens. And it was amazing. And I know I'm going to be doing this regularly. The third thing, and I think this is a really critical one, is to focus on plugins or devices in the studio that you can really flow with. I realized in this week of making music that there are specific devices that are really easy for me to use, that lead to results very quickly, and that I was super happy to turn to again and again. And within seconds, I was getting sounds and melodies and harmonies and whatever that were making an impact into the track, that were adding something tangible rather than just like maybe a little effect or something. So let me take you with me quickly and show you the ones that that really helped me. Was this Prophet 600, which is obviously a very amazing synth that I was very happy to pick up. And Behringer now does a clone of this Prophet Pro 800, or I don't know, something like that. But it's basically this in rack with 8 voices, and I've heard it and it sounds amazing. If you're looking for a polyphonic synth, I think that that's a really, really good choice. The other one that I used a lot was this, actually a Behringer TD3 Mo, which does amazing fat bass lines, and it has like this, it's tuned in a way that you can do all kinds of super cool stuff with it. So if people would ask me like, what is it that you like really essentially need, I would say get one polyphonic synth and one monophonic fat bassline type synth, and with those two you would be covered. That's enough to interface with, so you're not just in front of a screen the whole day, so you can move, so you can dance, so you can get into a vibe rather than sitting there just, I don't know, moving blocks around or just playing with plugins. Obviously you can do all this stuff with plugins also, but I have to say the fact that I could get up and walk to a device or push buttons physically, I think had a really positive impact on what I was able to create. And I actually live streamed all of this, and I'm going to share the link below. The third day is definitely the best one. If you want to skip through there was a lot of really cool ideas, and this was used as well as the Prophet 600 a lot. The fourth thing that I would say is to stick it out, to stick with it. Like I had moments during all days where I was just tired, or I wasn't really feeling it, or I didn't really know what to do next. And rather than jump on social media, which honestly is what I also do normally speaking, or maybe be distracted and watch a YouTube video or whatever, I knew those options weren't there. So what did I do? I stuck with it, and I just kept making music. And within 10, 20, 30 minutes, I'd broken through that plateau and gone to the next thing, which I really liked. Or sometimes I just started something fresh, and that was fine also. So not having this possibility to jump out of the creative process, I think, will help you to get into a flow and to stay in a flow, even if sometimes there are moments where it's a little bit tricky, but it's absolutely worth it to dedicate yourself, like to say, I'm going to do a full day in the studio or a long weekend. You'll get so much further than if you're jumping in between stuff, especially all this, social media stuff and YouTube videos. I know this is a bit ironic, but I hope that this information leads to you shutting off your YouTube and blocking some time in to get your music done. So yeah, stick with it even when it's tough. And the fifth thing, and this, excuse if it's a little bit of a plug, but it's a huge impact on the way I was able to work, is to use a template. It doesn't need to be ours. Obviously, we make templates at Rapid Flow, but make yourself a template where you have access to really high quality, well-mixed kicks, drums, basic stuff like percussions, toms, and actually I have a lot of bass synths also that I have in my live set, which is heavily based on our Infinity bundle, because that meant that I could start a new track and within 10 seconds be working on the main harmonic idea, rather than having to look for a kick drum sound and a snare sound and some hi-hats and blah blah blah, all this stuff which just can take hours, right? And how many times, honestly, like how many times have you mixed a kick drum against a bass? And very often all of these, they're all kind of similar, right? So I think reducing that in the composition phase, even if the kick drum is maybe a placeholder, maybe you're going to change it at some point, but just to get the musical ideas down, it's enough to have a good solid pulse and to have a good kick drum that's good enough for now, and maybe you change it out, maybe you don't. I can highly recommend working in some kind of a fast workflow that has a mastering chain, that has live performance effects, that has sounds that you trust and that you know work together, because you can actually spend all your time making music rather than tweaking things around, which is not what people listen to when they listen to a track. Sure, they appreciate a well-produced track, but they're listening to the harmonies, the melodies, the bass lines, maybe the vocals. That's the stuff that catches people's attention, and I think that's the stuff that working in my template allowed me to really focus on. So if you want to get a template, if you don't want to spend all the time making it, of course I can recommend ours. It's over on rapidflow.shop. It'll, I don't want to make this too much of a plug, but it's amazing. I mean, I've been using it myself now, and I've had the best time with it, and I'm so happy for all the people that now also use it and say the same. And there's a lot of people with me in my team that collaborate with me on it and support me on it. This is not just only my work. I have a whole team of people working on the different DAWs, on the mastering chain. Daniel from Sweden, from Earthbound Mastering, has done an amazing new mastering chain in Midside that's coming out soon. So yeah, check it out if you want. We have a basic template, and we have one with tons of samples that'll help you get started really, really quickly. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share with you. And don't believe your mind when it tells you that you need 6 months or a year to write an album, because you don't. I promise you, you don't. This album is not finished by no means. The musical ideas are there, but I know I need to sequence it and polish it and mix it and add some, little decoration stuff here and there, whatever. But the musical ideas are there, and because they came in a really condensed time period, I can tell already now they all fit together, and it's gonna feel amazing to have this body of work that just fits together. So I hope you have the opportunity to lock yourself in your studio for 2-3 days, maybe even also 5. Try the thing with the silence and no external input. It's a huge change what it'll do for your creativity. And with that, let me show you this track that's playing in the background so you get a feeling of where I was musically, and of course also to end this on a musical note. I hope this video has been useful to you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.